All right, what's up, YouTube? Back at you with another video. So this is a solo quick take I'm doing right now, and one that I actually didn't necessarily plan on doing, but one of the channel members basically brought this to my attention because I didn't really even hear about this. And he asked me if I'm gonna do a video talking about Jermaine Dupri mentioning New Edition as the greatest group of all time. And apparently, I guess he did an interview or a podcast. I don't know if it was the Joe and Jada podcast. I didn't even know they had a podcast. So basically, he did one, and they talked about obviously several different topics. And I guess New Edition was one of the topics of conversation. Um, Not, I guess, important enough for them to clip it and make it its own substantial video. And based off of the audio that I heard, they're all in agreement that I guess to them, New Edition is the greatest group of all time. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, a couple of months ago, I did a video basically ranking my top 20 R&B groups of all time, and my opinion wasn't really a factor in the statistics that I ranked them. It wasn't a part of the criteria. And if I'm not mistaken, I had New Edition ranked at number 6. And y'all can, as a matter of fact, go check that video out for my reasoning why. But I'm going to give my reasons as for why I think New Edition is not necessarily the greatest group of all time, but they are definitely the greatest group in modern history, in modern times. And the reason why I say that is because I wouldn't include the 70s and the 60s and prior as modern times, but I can say that 40 years ago is considered modern, you know what I'm saying, to me at least. And here's why I agree is because New Edition, and y'all already know this, for people who have listened and watched all my album retrospectives on New Edition thus far, especially the very first one, which was Candy Girl, the intro to that video is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the Backstreet Boys, if not the Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block. I don't know, whichever one of them. And they said if it wasn't for New Edition, there would be no New Kids on the Block. There would be no Backstreet Boys. There'd be no NSYNC. There'd be no Boys to Men. There'd be no B2K. There'd be no Shy. There'd be no Silk. There'd be no Jodeci. There'd be none of that. None of that. New Edition reintroduced that lane for the modern boy band. They laid that blueprint down. I'm not saying that without New Edition there would be no, boy bands, but let's be real. Troop was looking at New Edition before Troop came out. Let's be real, because everybody knew that New Edition, they were the new Jackson 5, and they were perceived that way because they were huge. It wasn't only black people that was listening to New Edition. It was all types of cultures. White people too. White people were also listening to Cooler Now and Mr. Telephone Man. I'm pretty sure that, those audiences had some white people in there. They were the vision of what every single, or they are the vision, or they were the blueprint for every single R&B group that came after them. And the only other group that did it before them was the Jackson 5. And then arguably, yeah, the Jackson 5 was looking at other groups like the Temptations. But at the same time, the Jackson 5, they were like the first of their kind. They were the first younger kids to do it. If you're not including like Frankie Lyman in them. You know what I'm saying? So in modern history, yes, an argument can be made that New Edition is the best. Because although commercially, Boys to Men sold more records than New Edition did, and they had more, you know what I'm saying, like Billboard chart hits and shit like that, but they would not exist if Mike Bivins did not give them an opportunity. So New Edition birthed them. New Edition is the reason why their name is Boys to Men. So, and I'm pretty sure if you were to ask Wanye, Sean Stockman, who the GOATs were to them or who they were looking at when they were coming up, they were looking at New Edition. They sang "Can You Stand the Rain" for Michael Bivins. So that, and mind you, Boyz II Men is the greatest group underneath them. Because there is no group, modern history, a group better than Boyz II Men other than New Edition right now. And New Edition created them. So that's pretty much that as far as that's concerned. So I would have to agree partially with Jermaine Dupri on that. I do not believe that New Edition is a better group than the Jackson 5. And the reason why I say that is because his reasoning is because New Edition is the only group to split up and then to have multi-platinum success amongst all the members. And yeah, that you can factor that in, but at the same time, we're talking about groups. We're not necessarily talking about, individuals. Because I think, yeah, like they were still, to me, it's like when you look at Bobby, I still looked at Bobby as a New Edition member during the Don't Be Cruel years because he was still rocking with them. They went on tour. The Heartbreak Tour had Bobby on there. So they were still New Edition, except they were just doing their own separate things. But that's just me as a New Edition fan. The general public looked at Bobby as his own separate entity because he kind of sort of transcended the group because he was more successful than they were. Dare I say, yeah, he accomplished more as a solo artist than the group did because he sold 10 million by himself in the span of 1988 and 1990. He did all of that alone. So it's like I don't think the group, I don't know if it makes sense, but I just don't necessarily factor that in as my rationale because it's like because technically is Michael Jackson's success as a solo artist the Jackson 5 success? No, it's not. No, it's not. Michael Jackson was his own separate entity once he created Off the Wall and he released that album. The Jackson 5 does not get to share in the success of Thriller. They do not. They do not. So it's like, the group New Edition, which we all say is like the mothership, right? But it doesn't necessarily take the credit for Don't Be Cruel. New Edition doesn't take the credit for BBD, not necessarily. New Edition was the vehicle through which Don't Be Cruel, happened. BBD happened. The Ralph Tresvant album happened. Johnny Gill happened. That was like the springboard, but I can't necessarily say that New Edition is again like the soul. Y'all get what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like I can't credit New Edition for Don't Be Cruel. That was a Bobby type of thing. So if I were to have that conversation with Jermaine Dupri, I would disagree with them on that. I would make the case for that. I don't think those guys in there really know enough about R&B to have really made that argument. But again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Now, there is one other topic that he talked about, which was basically that people don't respect R&B today. And I have to say I agree. And I don't think they even really dive too deep onto that topic. I think they were kind of talking about, I guess, record labels and them not getting behind it. But I think the reason why people don't respect R&B today and R&B is not what it was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and prior is because love is not a value in this society now. Falling in love is not like I don't want to say it's not a thing, but it's just not something of value where these are things that people are going to want to listen to in their songs anymore. Like y'all let me know. I'm like, when was the last time like there was like a classic love ballad, an R&B love ballad that went number one like End of the Road did back in the day? When? When? I don't know. Like y'all gonna have to let me know. I don't remember the last time that there was a great love ballad that was a crossover pop success that became a classic in this era right now. And I'm not talking about like modern era, which would include the 80s and the 90s. No, I'm talking about the 2010s. And shit, we're in the damn 2020s now. That's because that's not what people care about now. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this goes for everybody, but I think that when people fall in love, it's not I'm falling in love with who this person actually is authentically. People are falling in love for societal reasons, economic reasons, and social reasons. People are not falling in love for the principle of falling in love, for the feeling, the experience of falling in love. They're not. They're not. I'm gonna quote Terry Lewis. He said that the way that people love today is I love you if, and I don't love you when. You see what I'm saying? So people are not gonna want to listen to songs about unconditional love and heartbreak. Like it's not cool to be heartbroken now. If you're heartbroken, you're a simp. In this day and age, if I tell somebody, I mean like somebody I don't know very well, like, yo, man, yo, I just lost my girl, I'm tripping right now. They're gonna be like, yo, get some money and get over it. So those are the songs that people are gonna want to listen to. Songs about getting money and that I don't give a damn about love. That's what people care about now. People do not care about love anymore. They don't. Love today, or what people think love is today, is about what I'm getting out of this relationship and what this person can do for me. And if I feel like I'm not getting anything out of this relationship and this person can't do anything for me, then I'm not going to be with them. I'm not even going to entertain them. I'm not even going to give them the time of day. And this goes for both men and women. You know, I'm not just talking about women when I'm saying that, like, yo, I have to be getting something out of this. Men think that way too. That's a fact. And I'm not saying that, like, oh, everyone just loves freely, but that's not a recurring theme in this society right now. So if people want to know why R&B is not a thing, is because the values have changed, you know, amongst younger people. Because people are going to want to talk about what the general public is talking about. And the general public is talking about money. The general public is talking about materialism. The general public is talking about what they think is cool. And that's what the record labels are getting behind. Because y'all, and I know the majority of y'all are going to be people who support my video essays, particularly the album retrospectives. When I relate to the music that I'm talking about it from a personal aspect, like how this music makes me feel, what type of memories, you know, it brings me back to, what kind of feelings it evokes within me. You know, what women I've dated come to mind when I'm listening to this particular song. People don't do that now. What artist now comes out with music that even does that? And he even said somebody like Leon Thomas, who I think he makes good music because I like his, you know, Mutt album, or particularly a couple of songs on there, which is Mutt. And yes, it is. I like those songs, right? But I can't say that those songs really make me feel the way that, you know, Boys to Men, freaking New Edition, Troop, Jodeci, Shy, like music now does not make me feel that way anymore. So when you think about modern artists, which is Leon Thomas, Daniel Caesar, Jivion, Brent Fayez, you know what I'm saying? They don't. To me, it's like the way that they make music now. These R&B singers make music now. This shit sounds like hip hop. It sounds like hip hop. Yeah, they might talk about a couple of things like related to you know, music and shit, they might talk about things related to love and things, but it's not like it's not, that's not real love, bro. They're not singing about real love, or they're not rap singing about real love anymore. So it really, it's society's fault that R&B is not a thing. If people were falling in love again, and like people were staying together, you know, like Al Green was talking about, then yeah, maybe it would be more marketable. But in this day and age right now, that's not what people want to hear, because that's not true to the lives that they're living right now. You know what I mean? Like if I don't live a certain life, then how could I relate to a song that's written from a perspective that I can't even relate to? Real shit. Like that's just the reality of it. And it's sad because again, the majority of the music that I listen to now is music from back in the day. 2000s, 90s and prior. And if I do listen to one of these artists that I just mentioned, I'm not listening to them because of the lyricism and what they're talking about. I couldn't do an album retrospective about any of these guys because what are they talking about? Is the absence of meaning in lyricism. You know what I'm saying? In one of Brent Faiyaz's songs, one of the dudes says, like, a guy, he's a featuring artist. He says, you know, ain't no simp, baby, bounce if you want to leave. You know what I'm saying? He's not saying, yo, like it's gonna hurt me if you leave, like, because it's just not the era that's conducive to that type of feeling. And again, it's really fucked up, but that's just society now. And so basically, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I hope to be making more of these quick takes on my own like that, where it's literally a quick take, you know what I'm saying, versus the longer form videos and conversations. So anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.